Hello, Edward here from Zero88, and we're pleased to announce that our ZerOS 798 software is going to be released on Monday, the 12th of October 2020. So we got a kind of a short bit of an overview, really. You can either watch this back with the fresh install on your console and kind of work through it with me, or of course watch along live and get a bit of a preview of what's coming in the next few days. So the key thing with ZerOS 798 then, the key big change is a whole new library format. It's a whole new format of fixture library, and that's going to be available for all of our Flex range consoles and our other ZerOS consoles as well. So let's dive in and take a look. So I'm running Phantom ZerOS, which is our offline editor, and I'm currently emulating a Flex console here. So let's dive in. I'm going to go into Setup, and I'm going to go to Add Fixtures, and this is where we have access to the latest library. So go to Add Fixtures, you've got access to all of the brand new format fixtures in the library, over 20,000, pretty much double the current library or the old library now. So a really big improvement. And it's not just the quantity of fixtures either, it's also the number of fixtures, number, quantity, and the details. So it's not only just the quantity of fixtures, but the information in there as well. Far more information, which is going to really help you out when controlling your rig. So I'm going to come out of Setup, and I'm going to go and just close my external monitor and just work off the internal touchscreen of my Flex here. And I'm going to go and grab a group of lights. So let's grab a group of lights and turn those on. And let's start to have a look. So you'll notice as you start to use the new format of fixtures, you've just got far more information. So we've got longer parameter names for a start on your encoder wheels, which is always helpful. But as well as that, as you start to page through and see what parameters you've got available, go into view the details. I'm viewing here the details of a animation wheel on these particular moving lights, and I get previews of those animation wheels. Now in the old format library, we used to really only get previews of gobo images, but now we get animation wheels, we get prisms as well, so far more information for you to see what your lights have. And on the subject of images, brand new gobo images. Okay, and again, a huge amount of gobo images. If I go and just grab another group of lights, take a look at those. As you can see, when you've got lights patched, you're going to see all of your gobos available to you, and as you can see, higher resolution images as well, so really helps you see what gobos your lights got, which is always good. Another really big improvement as well that we've got in this ZerOS 798 is improved fixture macros. So available on all consoles, including Flex S. If you're on a Flex S, the very last tab that will be open along the top of your touchscreen will be a macros button, a macros tab, which will be available if your currently selected fixtures have macros. I'm on Flex, so I'm actually going to hit my macros button. And in here we can see all of the fixture macros in my show file. So grab your lights. If you haven't done already, you can then automatically create some macros, and all of the available macros will be in here. Now, by macro, macros are really useful for, the really obvious ones are resetting your lights, lamping them on and lamping them off if they're discharge fixtures. And when you send a macro to a fixture, it will set a channel to a level, but not only that, there's information on how long that level should be held there for, what other channels need to be at what other levels to be able to make that command work. So macros are really useful, and the additional fixture macros greatly improve your ease of control of your lights. Nice thing about lamp on macros, of course, if you select a group of lights and lamp them on, the console will automatically send that command to each one of those in turn to avoid all of them striking at once and potentially resulting in a current surge. So yeah, macros are really useful, especially things like lamp on, reset, and lamp off. What else have we got? Well, another thing that we've got as well, a little thing but makes quite a nice difference, is lots of new generic templates. So I'm going to go and open my full screen external monitor. Let's dive into Setup again. And if we go to add fixtures, first of all, as always, dimmer will be pre-selected. If you just want dimmer channels, go to add fixtures. You can just hit next straight away, which is down at the bottom here. And you'll be able to choose those straight away. But if you need just a basic LED fixture, go into your second column here, and when you've got the generic selected, go and type LED, and that's going to show you all of the template LED fixtures. So if you need, for example, what we've got here, intensity, red, green, blue, strobe. If you need a really quick fixture with that, go and find it, and it just saves you having to. If you can't find the actual fixture in the library, but you know it's really basic, you've got access to it, to something that's going to work straight away anyway, so you don't need to worry about getting it made for you. I'm going to come out of setup, and I'm going to go to my palettes desktop on my external monitor, and you'll see here we have color, we've got beam, and we now have shape. So another really big thing about our new fixture library here is it allows us to have a whole new attribute. We now have the shape attribute. In previous versions, we had beam shape. So as you probably could guess, beam and shape were combined. But we've made them separate. So we now have separate beam and shape palettes. And beam and shape palettes and beam and shape attribute. So first of all, what is shape? That's probably a sensible question to ask. What do we actually mean by shape? I'm going to close that and go back to just working off my internal touchscreen here. So as a general rule, we define that a shape parameter, so a shape control of a light, will be something that cuts into its beam. So of course the obvious one is your gobos. So if I go to my shapes, I can go and choose a gobo image, and bang, there we are. I've got that gobo in my lights. But as well as that, it might be animation wheels, as we've already mentioned. It could be framing shutters as well, for if you've got moving profiles. They would be shapes because they're cutting into the beam. Iris, another good example of a shape parameter. So beam, on the other hand, that's for all your kind of control and function parameters, as we can see here. Control here, we've got macros in this particular fixture. But also your lenses, so your zooms, focus as well, they're going to stay living under beam. Okay, so that's just to give you a bit of an idea of what would be in a beam attribute and what would be in the shape attribute. Okay. In terms of the auto palettes, because the nice thing about Flex, get you up and running really quickly, you have auto palettes. Auto beam palettes, as we can see here, you're going to have a shutter open and a shutter closed palette if your fixtures have a shutter. So that's what you're going to get in beam. If your fixtures have a shutter, you will get those two auto beams created. Okay. If your fixtures have gobos, go to shape, and as we've already seen, all of your gobo images for all of the fixtures in the show file will be in here. A good example in my case here, some of them are greyed out. And the ones that are greyed out, as you'll be familiar with on Flex, those are for fixtures that other fixtures that I haven't currently got selected. So the ones that are highlighted are for my currently selected fixtures. When it comes to your gobos, palettes there, the first palette will be no gobo. So always you can guarantee that shape number 1 there is going to be no gobo. Okay. Now to access beam and shape, of course, you've got your beam and shape attribute keys if you're on a full-size Flex. If you're on a Flex S, there will be a new shape tab that opens along the top of your touchscreen, you'll notice. So tap that and you're going to get to exactly the same window as what we can see here within my shape attribute of Flex. Kind of another thing that this gives us as well is less encoder pages. So you will have been used to before, if you've got fixtures with loads and loads of shutters, prisms, gobos, all sorts of different things, that's going to be a lot of presses of beam that you would have had to do to page through the encoders. And of course, we've reduced that greatly because now you've got beam pages. So for these particular fixtures, I've just got a couple of beam pages that I can tap beam to page through those. And then of course, again, shape, I've got less pages of those too. So it makes your life much easier, separating out the beam shape attribute to be beam and shape. We mentioned our auto palettes here. We can obviously go in and program our own palettes if we want to. So to create our own palettes is exactly the usual thing that we used to do. Tap record, tap an empty palette, and you can store that in. For Flex, it's an additional 240 palettes you've got to play with, because same logic, you've got 240 colours, 240 beams, 240 positions, and now 240 shapes. On Flex S48, it will be a maximum of 96 shapes, and on Flex S24, it will be a maximum of 48 shapes. Okay, so a whole brand new set of palettes that you've got available for you. If you're on Flex, you've also got new syntax as well, because if you tap your shape button, it will actually bring shape into your command line, as you can see there. So you can do your syntax record shape 40, enter, or delete shape 1 through 6, enter, to delete a range of shape palettes. So you've got all of that available to you as well. What else does this new shape attribute give us? Well, it gives us a whole new set of fade times. Okay, I'm going to go and close capture just to make my screen a little bit bigger, and let's go and grab control of this. So if I go and record a cue, you can see now in my cue list window, I have a whole new shape column. So in your cue list window, you will now have a new shape column for your timings of any parameters within shape that are stored into that particular cue. You can see here before, it would have just been beam shape. All of those parameters would have to adhere to the same time in that one cue. But now I could have a gobo snapping in with a 0-second shape time, but then I could have zoom fading in with a 3-second beam time, for example. So I can separate that out now a little bit in my cue fades. As well as that, of course, I can also set a shape delay on my well, so you can set a delay time for shape too. It's not only cue fades either. You've also got shape settings, so if you press and hold setup and tap the shape button, you're going to get a whole new set of shape settings in there. But as well as that, move on dark. We've now got shape options for move on dark. Chase fades, you've now got a shape option in there as well. So everywhere that you would have been used to having colour, beam, position fades, you've now got this extra shape fade time. So it gives you a huge amount of extra flexibility, which is always good. As you can see here, the cue list window, it has had to change a little bit to allow for our new, brand new shiny shape column. So the name field has actually become a little bit bigger, which is good, so you can have longer cue names. And we have got our settings column. That's a little bit different now. If I go and pop in a setting for that cue, I get that setting displayed in my settings button, which is quite nice too. So it's just a few little improvements, and you'll notice a load of other improvements as well as you use the console. If you're on Flex S, another thing you'll notice as well is updated guidance text. So on Flex S consoles, you've got your guidance text along the bottom third of your touchscreen. There's some improvements to that too. So let's talk a little bit now about non-library fixtures. Okay, so you obviously, if you do a fresh install of your software, you go into add fixtures, you're going to be able to go and access all of those brand new shiny fixtures. But what about if you've got a show file that is from an older version of software and therefore it is using the old format of fixtures? Well, let's talk a little bit about that and what tools we've got available to us. First things first, it is worth clarifying, if you load in a show file from 797 and load it into 798, it's going to load in absolutely fine, of course. Always able to load in the previous version show file into your console. So you'll be able to load it in and you'll be able to play it back absolutely fine, happy days. Okay, but we've got a couple of tools to be aware of. So I'm going to go into Setup, and the first tab we go to when we're in Setup is the fixture schedule. And in my case here, I have loaded a 797 show file in, and I've started to build a little bit on top of it. Now in this case here, I can see that I've got some fixtures displayed in red in my fixture schedule. And any fixtures displayed in red are non-library fixtures. It's what we would refer to as a non-library fixture. Okay, so it's purely fixtures that are in your console, but they are not from the fixture library. They're not the new library format. Okay, you'll see at the moment that my very top option here is grayed out, and that's because we've got lots of different types of fixtures all currently shown in my fixture schedule here. However, if I go and filter, and I can use my patch groups for this, which is a really good method of doing it. So I'm going to go and choose my alpha spot patch group. That button at the top of the column there becomes a convert button. Okay, becomes a convert button. And what that allows me to do is it allows me to convert the old fixture format to my nice new shiny library format. Okay, so if you've loaded in a show file, as I've done here, from 797, load it in, you're going to have all of your fixtures that were stored in that show file displayed in red, but there's a good chance that that fixture is available in the library, in the new library. Okay, so what we can do is we can go to convert here, and the console will find that fixture but in the new format. So I can then click OK, and what the console's going to do is it's going to crunch through all of those fixtures and apply all of your existing programming with the old format fixture to the new format fixture. And when that's done, I can click OK, and I can now go and grab those fixtures again, and there we are. They're back into our white text as we're used to seeing, which is now showing me that these are fixtures from the library format. Okay. If you do load in an old show file, or you load in a custom fixture file, so the fixture editor software that's available from our website, that's still compatible with this version of software, so you can still continue to make your own fixtures if you wish. You'll notice with custom fixtures, they had colour, beam, shape, and position. So when loading in a custom fixture into 798, the console will automatically move gobo parameters into shape for you. So even though as far as that file is concerned, it's just purely a beam shape parameter, the console will do the bit of work for you. So straight away you'll be able to take advantage of that new shape attribute by the console automatically moving gobos into shape for you. So that's really good to be aware of. If you load in a show file and you have some fixtures in red, and you then go to see if you can convert that to the new library format, there is a possibility that your fixture, especially of course if you've made your own completely custom fixture, is not available in the new library format. Okay, that is possible, and as I've said already, if that is the case, and the fixture you're looking for isn't in the new library format, you can continue to use your old format absolutely fine, no problem at all. But do drop us an email. If you ever come across a fixture that's not in the new library, of course, email us fixturesupport@zero88.com, and we'll be able to make sure that we get that up to date in the new library format. Now, similarly, if you go to add fixtures, for example, and you go, oh, I can't find a fixture that used to be in the library. Now, if that does happen, again, there is a possibility that could happen. What you can do is you'll be able to go to a new website, which will be 088.com/fixtures. And from there, you'll be able to go and find the old version that we had for that fixture and load it in, and you'll be able to use it just as you used to. Okay, so just worth mentioning there, if you do think, oh, I'm sure we used to have a version of that fixture in the library, you'll be able to just grab it from our website if you need it. But if that does happen, do drop us an email, and we'll make sure that we can include that in the next version of the new format library. Completely new format library, as I keep saying there. What you'll find now is that when you save a show file in 7.9.8, you end up with a .ZerOS file type. It is a different file type. Okay, .isf was the old file extension for show files, and you'll find that that new show files in 7.9.8 will be saved with a .ZerOS show file extension. What you will find is that .zos files cannot be loaded into earlier software versions. Okay, so .zos show files are not backwards compatible with 797. So my 798 file here, I couldn't load that into a console running 797. Okay, we've had to do that because of this new format fixture library. Okay, obviously you'd have loaded it into the old software and it would go, oh, what are all these new format fixtures that I don't understand? So that's why it's at .zos when we're on 798. Okay, but as I've said, ISF show files into 798 without any issues at all. Last big thing that that's introduced in ZerOS 7.9.8, which is something that again makes a big difference. There's a little thing that makes a big difference, is new keyboard shortcuts. And you might have noticed I've been doing this already with using Phantom. So there's a load of new keyboard shortcuts available. Check out the release notes. There's some information there in terms of what the keyboard shortcuts are. But as a general rule, the key will be the first letter of the actual button on your console. So R for record, U for update. You get the idea. So, and it makes a big difference to, of course, using the offline editor here, going in and I can just use my laptop's keyboard to control my virtual console. But where it can also be used as well is in the new ZerOS monitor. So this is ZerOS monitor, as you might have been used to seeing before. So I can go and connect to a console there that's available to me. And when I've connected to a console, I can then go in, remote in, and use the new keyboard shortcuts. So I can use those keyboard shortcuts and remotely control the console using those new keyboard shortcuts, which is great. Now, the other place where you can use those keyboard shortcuts is with a keyboard plugged into your console. So that's always nice, of course. And that makes a big difference as well for the brand new ZerOS server. You can actually see one ticking away behind me there. And existing SCD servers. So those are our rack mount consoles. You can go and use those keyboard shortcuts with those consoles to make them truly standalone controllers as well, which is pretty useful. So we think you're going to love 798. It makes a big difference to controlling your fixtures. So when it's released, go check it out, have a play, and if you've got any questions at all, please do get in touch with us. Either comment in the put a message in the comments and one of the team will reply, or as always, drop us an email to support@zer88.com. And as I said, if you've got any fixture specific questions, go to our dedicated email there as well, fixturesupport@zer88.com, and we'll be able to help you out. So thanks very much for listening and watching. I hope you found that useful, and I hope you found that is a useful method to kind of have a look at all of the new features that we've got available for you. So have a play, and if you've got any questions at all, please do get in touch. Thank you very much, everyone.